does Dad always say?
Sullies stick together.
No, the other one.
Sullies never quit.
That's right. Sullies never quit.
I'm gonna be honest, I thought this movie was gonna be complete spectacle, but the character arcs and some of the relationships actually surprised me. And I've always been a fan of the Avatar movies, and I just finished the new one, Avatar Fire and Ash. I actually didn't rewatch the previous two recently leading into this rewatch, but I thought I'd spark up the recording software and talk about this movie with you guys to get your opinion and tell you what I thought. And one of the first things I want to talk about is the family dynamic and the setup. Then the family dynamic between specifically Spider and the family near the start of the movie is a very weird dynamic. I'm gonna be honest. You can tell all the kids love and see Spider as a sibling, and you can tell that Jake is on the fence about him being around, and Neytiri just hates him. She hates him because he is a human and he's part of the Sky People, so that's all she sees in Spider. The scene where this takes place is actually a very strong scene, and it actually sets the seeds for what will come later in the movie with this whole dynamic. And while we're on the topic of family, I want to talk about some specific characters that actually have impacts on the story of this movie. And first, that's Loak. He is, I think, the sole focus of this movie, or like at least early on anyway, and it's because he's fighting the feeling that he was the reason his brother died in the second movie, and that really takes a toll on his character. Like, you can see him connecting to AWOL to see his brother multiple different times in the movie, and this happening really sets him on like a solo or like a rebellious arc, or like a coming of age arc, where Loak stands against the banishment of Tolkien. I think that's how you say it, and I'm talking about the whale character, and Sully gets up and stops him from standing up because it's like only like leaders can talk in this moment. Sully straight up tells him, if you hadn't disobeyed my orders, your brother would still be alive, and this caused Loak to storm off, and this leads to him to like try to literally commit Sudoku, and it's a very strong scene. It's tragic, and he ultimately doesn't do it because his sister, and I think it's his girlfriend, the chick from the water tribe, they end up showing up and stopping him. And if this scene does anything, it shows how much that the war is affecting the family and their relationships with each other. And for the cherry on top, this moment leads us directly into a scene between Jake and Neytiri. And in this scene, Neytiri is breaking down, and she admits how much she hates humans and she can't stand them, and she just wants to kill them all. And Jake responds with, so do you hate me and our kids because of the human inside of us? And this creates two sides within Neytiri of, I love my family, I know they're human, but I hate the Sky People, and those two sides are both fighting with each other for control. And this leads us directly into Spider's arc, because throughout the movie you see him struggling with his mask that he has to wear for oxygen, and because after all he still is a human, he's constantly not able to breathe, or he's always low on battery. So this creates like an urgency situation where they always have to be in a place where he can have access to the things he needs to live. And I'm gonna fast forward a little bit to a little further into the first act, and when the Sky Traders were attacked by the Ash People with Jake and his family riding back with them to the Jungle Tribe, it leaves the kids stranded as a group on the forest floor, with Spider not having access to his mask, he's low on battery, and soon he's gonna run out of air. So it's a very urgent situation. The kids are running around trying to figure out what to do, and eventually they get desperate enough where Spider's about to die. He has no oxygen, so his sister Kiri prays to the Great Mother AWOL to save Spider, and she actually answers her prayer. And this is kind of where things get interesting, which I didn't expect at all to happen. I saw some stuff get leaked, or like a preview before the movie came out, where Spider gets tail, I think that's what they're called, basically the thing that they connect to the environment with, and he gets like blue stripes on him, and he essentially becomes half Na'vi. It's very interesting, and I have this in my notes, but I kind of forgot about it. But it turns out it actually wasn't AWOL at all. It was Kiri herself who mutated his DNA. And this isn't necessarily a good thing for the Na'vi, because now that there's a human that can live and breathe and just exist on Pandora without having to have the technology to do so is a huge risk. And this leads into him being captured and studied by the military, where they're trying to like test him and prod at him and trying to replicate the thing inside of him that is keeping him alive. Oh, and this is also the same thing Neytiri was worried about earlier in the movie, and why she dislikes Spider so much, because she had a fear something like this would happen. happen. And along with her fear of that happening, there's this also real fear of the Ash people. And I don't know if they're like a raider tribe or just scavengers, or hell, maybe they might even be some sort of cult, but they definitely prove to be a tough opponent. They're like literally insane. One literally turns into a kamikaze bomber to take down the huge Skyrock trader ship, and it's actually insane. But, and I'm gonna be honest, they aren't dumb, and if anything, they're still pretty intelligent. They just seem a lot more unhinged than the other tribes. Oh, and the scene where Quaritch enters the Ash people's tribe really shows how primitive they are compared to the other tribes. And I'm gonna be honest, Quaritch is pretty badass whenever he walks up in here, because he walks up and then they like surround him like they're gonna attack him, and he just hits his radio and says, "Take this one out," and points at him, and he just gets dropped. It was just a really badass moment. Man, oh man, the way that this leads into some twisted love story between Quaritch and the Ash Clan leader is just wicked. Like, they go from enemies to enemy of my enemy is my friend to Quaritch playing into it to get what he wants. He's almost manipulating them to feed his mission, and that's a really strategic move from Quaritch's part, and shows how he will literally do anything to take down Jake Sully. Now that I mentioned Jake Sully, I want to talk about Jake and Quaritch's dynamic, because the scene where Jake and Quaritch team up to save Spider and the kids was actually a lot more interesting to see than you would initially think. Like, oh, two enemies who hate each other coming together to help a shared child. But as brief as it was actually really cool, and they did it really well. And I want to say this, even though they team up, they still do not trust each other at all. It's not like, oh, we're friends now. It was very much a spur of the moment thing of, oh, we have to do this or Spider's gonna die. And this scene, including others, are slowly building towards Quaritch realizing he's not 100% Marine, he's not 100% Quaritch, where he slowly starts to understand the culture and the people, and he's fighting with that. He's fighting of, no, I'm Quaritch, and no, I'm not Quaritch, I just have his memories. And that's just such a fascinating dynamic to me. I know a lot of people online are hating on it, it's just the same story, but for me it's interesting to see him fight internally from being Quaritch the Marine and Quaritch the Na'vi. And it gets especially real when you notice a big part of it is because of how he's fully ingrained into the Na'vi culture. Another thing that slowly shows this shift from Marine Quaritch to Na'vi Quaritch is throughout the movie he goes from being heavily geared in military gears or wearing military uniforms to fully sporting the red body paint from the Ash Clan. And this clothing choice is also one of those small details that adds a lot to visualizing the character growth and transition throughout the movie. And this all leads into the third act after the final battle, where, as Jake says, Quaritch has to make a choice. And I'm gonna avoid talking about the third act so you guys can go and enjoy that for yourselves when you watch the movie. Oh, and the reveal that Kiri, Sigourney Weaver's character, is a clone was an unexpected twist in the moment. I was like, wait, what? Is that her kid? But it turns out she's a clone, and I guess that's cool too. It was just very unexpected. And one of the coolest sequences of scenes in this movie is where the Ash Clan and Quaritch show up to take Jake Sully. Everybody in the Water Tribe is ready to die for Jake Sully in this moment, but Jake would not let that happen. So he turns himself in. He goes with Quaritch. And when they arrive to the military base, it's just as cool. It's like showing all of the Ash Clan Na'vi fly in with these devices that make it where the military can't shoot at them. And this is Quaritch is doing. Like, the people in the military base don't know what's happening. He kind of just went out on his own and teamed up with them to get Jake, but the military general isn't going to do anything about it because they caught Jake Sully. And I'm going to do a hard shift here to a scene that I personally want to point out that was also really good. It's not action heavy, it's just really emotional, and that's the scene where Jake is about to kill Spider for the sake of the Na'vi, and it shows how much they've changed throughout the movie. In this scene, Neytiri is the one that doesn't want it to happen, and Jake is the one who's willing to do it to protect all the people. It's very much one of those look at the flowers and everything will be alright moments. And the fact that Spider asks, I understand, but do you still love me? It's one hell of a tearjerker and actually almost made me shed a tear, and I'm not even lying about that. And the resolution of this scene just hits that much harder because Jake ultimately can't do it, and then Neytiri runs in after she decided to try and stop it, so it just lands that much harder. And in this scene you see Jake and Neytiri finally fully accept Spider as a son, and they decide they'll have to figure out another way to stop the humans. But with that being said, this movie did stick with me way more than I expected. The character arcs actually mattered a lot more and paired well with the action, and this movie is better than the second one. I don't know about the first. I don't think they'll ever top dropped it first because of how iconic it is. And if you haven't seen this movie, go watch it. It's already the fastest grossing Avatar movie, outbeating the first and second in the box office, and it looks like it's gonna reach $1 billion in maybe less than a month of being out, which is insane. So I think that speaks for itself. Go check out the movie and let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. And as always, stay curious and keep the conversation going.